We're here at the UiPath Together Public Sector Summit with Tim Gilday, Emerging Technology Senior Director with GDIT. Tim, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having us today.
Let me start by asking, where has automation really made a meaningful difference in how government serves the public?
Well, there's a lot of immediate low-hanging fruit in the back-end office functions, so HR, finance, grants management, and you can see those are cross-cutting across all government agencies. So that was the easiest point A to point B type of solution that we were able to find. That's the first place that it really took root, and now we're starting to expand from there.
And how do you see, or rather, what do you see driving the growth of automation in government specifically, and how do you see that changing in the year ahead?
One of the reasons I personally feel that RPA took off in the government and automation in general is it's a little bit different than industry. So sometimes you have systems that are not necessarily under the control or management of one agency or one program office. So you can't necessarily build an API to pull data directly out from that direction. What you have to do sometimes is screen scrape or get that data transmitted across the boundaries in a different way. So in the government, that's actually a much faster and sometimes a cheaper way to do things. APIs might be more robust and resilient, but they do take a little bit more time and bandwidth to build, and sometimes more approval, which can really slow things down. So RPA was ripe and did take off. I think for one of those major driving forces was that territory crossing those lines.
Next, how much is automation leveraged across agencies that you alluded to a little earlier, and are we reaching a saturation level?
Some agencies are able to embrace this technology a little bit faster than others. It's not just about how they're set up in technical landscape, but also their acquisition offices have different priorities for what technology they're able to bring in for solutions. So you may see government agencies that are really far ahead in automation, but I think there are many that still have a lot of room left to grow. So there's a lot of areas where you're getting innovation in a program office or a smaller team, and then those are the models or exemplars for areas where the rest of the agency can expand. So even at the basic level, just basic RPA, we have a lot of room to grow. But then there's also intelligent automation where you start to add in variations of artificial intelligence like natural language processing or computer vision. And that, after we get the basics out of the way, that will really continue to expand the impact that intelligent automation has on the government.
And just to follow on that, how can the impact of that be measured in the government versus private industry?
The government, they do want to save money, but what's more important is how much time are you saving? Are you reducing risk and error? And are you making a faster, lower risk service produced for the citizen, the consumer of the government's products, the US citizens and then the global citizens that we end up serving? So I would think that more than just money, we are looking at time, we're looking at impact to the organization from are they serving their mission better, and are we reducing manual labor and risk? So one of the side effects that we see when we measure this way, we reduce risk and we reduce manual labor, you end up freeing up a lot of time from those individuals who may have been doing more rote work. And so what that allows is more creativity in their jobs. We've even seen studies that show an increase in morale when you start to implement these types of automations. So one of the ways that the government, I think, is focused on is those non-monetary aspects.
And then lastly, how do you see automation continuing to evolve from back office work, as you mentioned earlier, to more mission-centric activities in government? And what will help accelerate that change?
As I mentioned earlier, there's intelligent automation, which is where we start to add artificial intelligence to basic robotic process automation. And it takes a little bit of creativity. How are we going to use natural language processing or sentiment analysis or entity name recognition to find something that triggers from a paragraph of text that triggers an action that then can be automated the rest of the way? So again, in the government space, there are agencies that are leading the way with AI experimentation, but that's a little bit of a more complicated technology to implement, not only because it's harder and you need better programmers or more educated programmers to bring that to bear, but then you've also got a lot of risks that the government needs to think through before it begins to implement too much artificial intelligence. So one is, a driver that's going to increase this is just artificial intelligence in and of itself. But second is going to be the training, the pipeline of talent that helps to develop this. So right now, we're still fighting over talent just to develop basic RPA. But to get intelligent automation where you need extra artificial intelligence background, machine learning background, predictive analytics, and others, that's going to take the government growing its own technical talent pipeline.
Excellent. Well, Tim, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your observations with us.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks again for having us here.